Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for everyone for being here today, and again for your willingness to serve. You know, I don't have to tell anybody here that the post office touches every single American and every single business 6 days a week, week in, week out, 52 weeks a year. And the past several months has taught us that neither snow nor rain nor global pandemic is going to stop the incredible men and women of the U.S. Postal Service from doing their jobs. And so tens of millions of Americans out of work, countless others are staying home because they're sick or immunocompromised. Stores are closed because of the pandemic, but the Postal Service and its employees have never been more important to us. Nevadans and all Americans are relying on the USPS to receive their medicine, their CARES Act stimulus checks, their Social Security benefits, any needed supplies from PPE to laptops for those students who now have to learn at home. And so our current public health situation highlights a role that the Postal Service has had for decades in responding to crisis. Since the 1990s, the Postal Plan has outlined the role of USPS in delivering antibiotics to residents during a catastrophic event, using the inherent efficiency of the USPS infrastructure. That's because we've become keenly aware during the pandemic that the United States Postal Service, its uniquely expansive network, gives us the ability on a daily basis to touch everyone. It can't be replaced or replicated. And so for both Captain Moak and Mr. Zollers, as we continue to combat COVID-19 and also prepare for a next pandemic or any other crisis we may consider, how do you think the Postal Service can use its network to innovate and aid the nation when other institutions or entities are unable to function normally like they are now? Yes, I'll go to Captain Moak. I see you. We'll have you go first there.
Thank you, Senator. If confirmed, I intend on looking in great detail on the very matters you're talking about. But my experience says that what we've been dealing with recently and over the last decade, especially after 9/11, really emphasizes just how important the Postal Service is to the nation. So I agree with all that. I think the challenge is how we continue to improve on that very vital service that you talk about, and at the same time make it an economically viable enterprise going forward. And I believe that can be done. We just need focus, and we need input from all stakeholders, and we have to agree on how to do that going forward.
Senator, this is Bill Zollers. First of all, it really does point out how smart our founders were put this in the Constitution, and the fact that it's survived since the beginning, really, as a vital service to the population. At the end of the day, this is really a huge logistics network, probably the biggest in the world. And I think my background in logistics and network optimization could probably add a little bit to the solution here. And I think it's going to be a difficult challenge and a pretty substantial set of problems, but I think it's a solvable problem because it's been solved by others in the past in smaller logistics networks. And I think this is another opportunity for us to bring some of that thought to bear on this pretty challenging issue.
Well, I appreciate that. And I actually think now that I'm listening to both of you in this hearing that we should include the USPS in all of our United States disaster planning missions, domestic disaster planning missions, whether they be from infectious disease or other things that we try to protect our homeland for. So I think we need to push for that. But in that light, when we do, how do you think us as legislators can put the Postal Service in better position to respond, whether it's financially or with regulation or legislation, to help them do what they need to do to support the American people in a time of any crisis, whether it's a flood, a hurricane, a pandemic, or another. I can ask both of you again, please.
Senator, this is Lee Moak. Again, if confirmed, I look forward to working with the chairman of the Board of Governors, the other governors, as we go to fill out this board to a fully staffed and functioning board, listening to USPS management, the new Postmaster General, and all other stakeholders involved so that we can come back and answer these very critical questions that the Congress is asking. It's going to take everyone working together to first understand exactly where we're at and then decide where we want to go. And then we have to focus on the leadership it takes to get there and then execute on that so that we can not only make it vital, but improve on the USPS as you've stated.
Thank you.
And
Captain?
this is Bill, and I would say the first step is to have an open mind, and I would be very interested in the ideas coming from Congress on that specific example that you gave, because I think it is a critical part of the response that we need to have ready and needs to be part of the strategy. But be very interested in ideas coming from Congress as well as the other stakeholders.
Yeah, I think especially in the event of natural disasters that may be localized, wildfires in Nevada, hurricanes, tornadoes, or floods in other places, how do we help? How does the post office help us get through that as well for critical things like medication and checks and all of that? So I appreciate your willingness to serve. Thank you for being with us today.